What if the reason your life feels strangely familiar has nothing to do with habit, and everything to do with hidden bonds you cannot see? You change your job, your city, even your dreams, and yet the same patterns circle back, as if an unseen hand keeps pulling you toward the same script. Physics calls it entanglement. Mystics called it karma. Both whispered of the same truth. Once two energies connect, they remain bound beyond space, beyond time. Change one, and the other shifts instantly, no matter how far apart. Einstein named it spooky action at a distance. But what if that distance is not out there in the cosmos, but inside your own life? Because what if you are not only entangled with people, but with versions of yourself, with old wounds, forgotten choices, emotional signatures still humming in your field? And what if those invisible threads are the real reason you feel pulled back into loops you thought you had escaped? In this video, we follow those threads. We'll ask, who or what are you still entangled with? Why do most never cut the cords that hold them to outdated timelines? And most of all, how do you finally release them? So the field can mirror back not your past, but your becoming. The question we leave open is this: if the threads are invisible, how do you know when you've broken free? By the end of this journey, the answer will not be a theory. It will be something you feel. Quantum physics has revealed one of the strangest truths ever observed. Once two particles meet, they are never truly separate again. No matter how far apart they drift, across labs, across galaxies, they remain mysteriously connected. Change one, and the other responds instantly. Einstein himself, baffled, called it spooky action at a distance. But what if this wasn't just about particles in a sterile lab? What if it was a mirror of something much closer? You. Because consciousness, too, entangles. You are not only woven into relationships, but into timelines, into identities, into moments that struck you so deeply they etched themselves into your field. Think back. The heartbreak you thought you buried, the failure that still whispers in your decisions, the belief you inherited without question. These are not just memories sitting in your mind. They are frequencies still alive in your energy, entangled signatures that pull on you as if from another dimension. Science edges closer to this mystery every day. Quantum biology suggests entanglement might even underlie how information travels through your nervous system. And mystics knew long before. The threads that bind us are not only visible bonds, but invisible currents beneath thought. So pause and ask yourself, with whom or with what are you still entangled? A past version of you who believed love was unsafe, a silent contract with failure, a timeline where your worth was dimmed. Because here is the truth. Until those threads are seen, they remain active. And the field, loyal as a mirror, keeps echoing them back into your now. Have you ever felt like life keeps circling back, even when you swear you've changed? New faces, new jobs, new places, yet the same emotions echo like déjà vu. That is not coincidence. That is resonance. It's entanglement replaying itself through you. Picture it like a song stuck on repeat. You try to write new lyrics, set new goals, shift your mindset, but the melody underneath refuses to change. No matter how inspiring your words, the old rhythm dominates, pulling you back into a loop you thought you escaped. This is why you feel magnetized to situations you know aren't good for you. Why the pull is stronger than logic. It isn't weakness, it's physics. The thread of entanglement is still alive, still broadcasting its frequency. And the quantum field mirrors that signal with precision. Consider emotional triggers. They often have little to do with what's happening now. Instead, they are echoes, vibrations from entangled moments in your past, replaying themselves in the present. That nervousness you can't explain, that heaviness that resurfaces out of nowhere. It's not memory, it's resonance. Think about relationships that collapse in the same way, even when the people are different, or opportunities that look new, yet end in familiar disappointment. On the surface, the story changes. Underneath, the energy is identical. That is the signature of entanglement, repetition disguised as chance. And the more intense the original imprint, the stronger the loop. A heartbreak that shook your identity, a betrayal that carved doubt into your nervous system, a failure that branded your sense of worth. These events did not end when they ended. They wove threads into the fabric of your frequency. And the field, loyal to vibration, continues to echo them back. Here's the paradox. You can outgrow the memory in your mind, but still remain entangled in your energy, which is why discipline, willpower, and positive thinking often fail to shift the deeper pattern. The entanglement doesn't respond to what you hope for, it responds to what you still carry. So pause for a moment, ask yourself, how many of your struggles are not choices you're making today, but loops still playing from yesterday? Until the thread is dissolved, the cycle continues. Different faces, same energy, same song repeating through your life. Every moment of intensity leaves a trace. Some call them memories, but memory alone does not explain why the body trembles at old shadows, or why the heart sinks without warning. These are not thoughts, they are energetic knots, signatures etched into your field, still alive and still transmitting. Think of the body as a living archive. The tightness in your chest when you face rejection echoes the first time love felt unsafe. The fatigue that lingers in your bones may not be from today's tasks, but from carrying grief that was never released. Even silence can scream inside you, because the nervous system does not forget. Trauma is not stored as a story, it is stored as frequency, and every time the thread is pulled, the old vibration floods back, collapsing the present into the past. This is why healing cannot come from thought alone. You cannot reason your way out of resonance. The field does not listen to words, it listens to signal. Metaphor makes this clearer. Imagine tying knots in a rope every time pain struck. You may try to stretch the rope forward, but the knots resist, pulling you back into the old shape. Unless the knots are untied, no amount of pulling will free the rope from its pattern. Your aura works the same way. And here is the paradox. What you call overreacting is often just resonance. The sudden wave of anger, the disproportionate sadness, the feeling of déjà vu in your chest. These are not overreactions. They are accurate reactions to threads still alive, not to what's in front of you, but to the invisible tether behind you. So ask yourself, where in your body do the echoes of the past still live? In your throat, tightening when truth wants to emerge. In your stomach, bracing when abundance feels unsafe. In your heart, flinching at intimacy even when love stands before you. These are not weaknesses. They are coordinates. They point to the knots still holding your frequency. And here lies the revelation. The past is not gone. It is parallel. Entanglement makes every unresolved moment accessible, woven into the field of now. Until the signature dissolves, the loop remains active. This is why your body is not betraying you. It is guiding you. Each tremor, each trigger, is a thread asking to be released. What makes entanglement so insidious is not its strength, but its subtlety. You can change jobs, end relationships, move cities, reinvent yourself, and still feel like life is looping back to the same place. You tell yourself, I did everything right, so why does nothing change? The answer is simple and terrifying, because the invisible thread is still intact. Entanglement bends time. It makes you feel delayed, out of rhythm with the flow of your own life. Opportunities slip past, not because you missed them, but because you weren't vibrating at the frequency to receive them. You may feel like you're running in place, exhausting yourself without progress. This is not bad luck. This is resonance with an outdated timeline. What you call delay is not failure. It is entanglement. Picture yourself walking through a corridor of mirrors. Each door leads to a new possibility. But if you are entangled with the reflection of who you used to be, every door you open leads back to the same room. The scenery changes, but the energy does not. And until the bond dissolves, you remain trapped in repetition. Einstein once said, "The distinction between past, present, and future is only a stubbornly persistent illusion." Entanglement proves this. The past is not behind you. It is beside you, echoing into your now. You are not haunted by memory. You are sharing a frequency with another version of yourself, and that version still has a grip on your timeline. Here lies the silent cruelty of the prison. It convinces you that effort is enough, that if you just push harder, hustle more, force the change, the loop will break. But the loop doesn't respond to willpower. It responds to coherence. And until your frequency shifts, no amount of effort can open the door. So pause and ask, are you living in alignment with your potential or orbiting the ghost of your past self? If you feel the weight of stagnation, the sense that no matter what you do, you end up in the same story, it's not because you are weak, it's because you are entangled. And the truth is, you cannot fight your way out of invisible chains. You can only dissolve them. In physics, there is a law so strange it almost sounds like mysticism: the observer effect. A particle exists in a cloud of probabilities until it is observed. The very act of looking collapses the wave into form. But here's the secret most overlook. You do not observe only with your eyes. You observe with your vibration. If your vibration is tangled in fear, regret, or unresolved pain, then every observation you make collapses into that same frequency. You are not manifesting from thought alone. You are manifesting from entanglement. And the universe, loyal and neutral, reflects that state with perfect precision. Think of a camera trying to take a photograph while trembling violently. No matter how beautiful the subject, the image will always blur. Entangled energy works the same way. When the signal is chaotic, the reality it collapses cannot be clear. Clarity never comes from chaos. This is why affirmations often feel empty. You can repeat, "I am abundant" 1,000 times, but if your nervous system is still bonded to scarcity, the field hears scarcity, not the words. The mirror reflects vibration, not vocabulary. Mystics have always known this. Neville Goddard warned, "You cannot persist in wanting. You must persist in being." To want is to entangle with absence. To be is to broadcast coherence. One collapses fragments. The other collapses destiny. So ask yourself, what lens are you holding up to the quantum field? Is it the trembling lens of unresolved threads, or the steady gaze of coherence? Because the universe is not judging you. It is simply mirroring the signal you broadcast. And here lies the liberation. Once you shift the vibration, the mirror must shift too. The observer effect is not a theory for scientists. It is the living architecture of your reality. Awareness alone is not enough. You can name the pattern, recognize the loop, even map its origins. But until the thread is released, the entanglement remains alive. And here's the paradox. You cannot cut these cords by force. You cannot outrun them, suppress them, or bargain with them. The field does not respond to struggle. It responds to resonance. This is why the process is less about fighting the thread and more about dissolving the signal. The past version of you, the one who felt unworthy, unsafe, unseen, is still vibrating in the field. And as long as that vibration is active, the present collapses around it. The only way out is to recognize, honor, and re-choose. Think of it like untying a knot. Pull harder, and it only tightens. But when you breathe, soften, and work gently, the knot begins to loosen on its own. Entanglements behave the same way. They dissolve when you stop fighting and begin witnessing. So how do you begin the release? First, observation. Sit with the memory or the repeating pattern without judgment. Notice the emotion it carries, the pull it exerts. Do not analyze it, just feel it. Second, rechoice. Declare silently, I no longer choose to live from this thread. And third, visualization. Picture the thread unweaving itself, not being cut with violence, but dissolving like mist, fading into the vastness of the field. Remember, this is not about people. It's not about punishing the past or cutting ties with someone you once loved. It is about frequencies. What you are dissolving is not memory, but resonance. The memory can remain. It is part of your story. But the entanglement no longer defines your vibration. And here's the practice. Simple, yet powerful. Write the words, I release the thread, not just as a phrase, but as a declaration. Speak it, type it, breathe it. Let the act become a signal to the field that you are done broadcasting from the old self. That clarity alone begins the unraveling, because the quantum field does not resist clarity. The moment the signal shifts, reality reorganizes, not as a punishment, not as a reward, simply as a mirror. When a thread dissolves, something surprising happens. Silence. At first, it can feel like emptiness, like a gap opening where the old pain or pattern once lived. Many people fear this space. They rush to fill it with distractions, with new attachments, with noise. But in truth, this void is the most sacred part of the process. Because in the language of the quantum field, space is not absence, it is possibility. Think of a jar once filled with murky water. Until it is emptied, no fresh stream can enter. The same is true of your field. Entanglement keeps your energy crowded with echoes of the past. But when the thread is cut, the jar is emptied. And suddenly, the field can reorganize around a new signal, one that matches who you are becoming. This is why neutrality is often the first sign of release. You revisit an old memory and feel nothing. No sting, no longing, no panic. That nothing is not numbness. It is space. And into that space, synchronicities begin to flow. The right words at the right time. A new opportunity that feels strangely aligned. The sense that life is lighter, more fluid, more spacious. Gravity itself teaches this truth. A star cannot be born until space is cleared in the cosmic dust. Creation demands emptiness before it demands form, and your aura works the same way. The void is not your loss, it is your womb. So ask yourself, can you sit in the quiet after the release? Can you resist the urge to rush, to grasp, to reattach? Because the longer you can breathe inside this sacred neutrality, the more clearly the new signal begins to form. This is the gift of the void. It is not the end of the thread. It is the beginning of coherence. Once the old threads dissolve, a choice emerges. What will you entangle with next? Because entanglement itself is not the enemy. It is the fabric of existence. The question is no longer whether you are connected, but to what. Most people unconsciously reattach to the same frequencies: fear, scarcity, survival. They rush to fill the void with what is familiar, even if it hurts. But the awakened few recognize the invitation. The empty space is not there to be feared. It is there to be chosen. Think of it as tuning an instrument. For years, you've been playing melodies born of old wounds, old beliefs. Now, for the first time, the strings are free. The question is, will you tune them to chaos or to harmony? This is where conscious re-entanglement begins. Instead of being pulled by unresolved timelines, you begin to bond with frequencies you desire. Joy, expansion, truth, peace. These are not abstract ideals. They are living vibrations, already present in the field, waiting for resonance. Neville Goddard once said, "Assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled." That is re-entanglement. You are not faking. You are choosing to connect your signal to the version of you that already exists in coherence. And as the bond strengthens, the field cannot help but mirror it back. So ask yourself, which frequency are you ready to weave into your soul? Is it the timeline where you trust your voice, where love feels safe, where abundance flows without force? These are not distant futures. They are parallel possibilities, waiting for your tether. In the end, it comes down to fidelity. Entanglement is loyalty. The field is loyal to whatever you remain most consistent with. So become loyal not to your wounds, but to your becoming. Choose with your heart, align with your highest thread, and watch as reality bends to the music of your new bond. We began with a question. What if it's not your thoughts holding you back, but invisible threads, pulling you into timelines you no longer belong to? By now, you've seen that this isn't metaphor alone. It is resonance. It is physics. It is the loyalty of the field to what you have not yet released. Entanglement is not a curse. It is a mirror. It shows you where your energy still whispers, "I am not free." And the moment you recognize the thread, you already hold the scissors. Awareness is the first cut. Choice is the second. Faith is the third. This is why only a small fraction truly awaken. Because letting go is not easy. It requires you to descend into silence, to face the echoes of who you once were, to choose truth over familiarity. Most would rather repeat the loop. Few dare to dissolve it. But here lies the paradox. Once you do, the very space that felt empty becomes alive. The void is not absence. It is invitation. It is the space where the new bond is formed, where you decide what your soul will entwine with next. Fear or freedom, scarcity or expansion, illusion or truth. Remember this: the invisible threads are not your prison. They are your initiation. To release them is to step into resonance with the highest version of yourself. To re-entangle with joy, peace, and coherence is to claim your place as a conscious creator of timelines. So here is your ritual. If you are ready, declare it not just in words, but in frequency. Whisper it to the field. Type it below. Let it vibrate through your being. I release the thread. Let the field know your choice. And if this journey stirred something in you, don't let it end here. Subscribe to Infinity Echoes, activate the bell, and return often. Because in a world addicted to noise, we are building a sanctuary for resonance. And every time you cut a false thread, you don't just shift your life, you shift the field itself. So which future will you choose to entwine with your soul?